John Cordisco back again. This is another game from round one of the 78th edition of Tata Steel Chess. This is from the Challenger section, or the B group. It's a really fun game, especially towards the end. It's between Alexei Dreev as white and Benjamin Bok as black, both rated over 2600. Let's get to it. Dreev is white, Bok is black. It's going to be a Grunfeld. Go through the opening here. We don't go too much into detail in the openings here. There's lots of YouTube videos for that. Bishop e6. Now, it's the last book move. And what that does, it forces white to do something here, because the pawn is being attacked by the pawn and the bishop. So, white takes, knight takes, knight takes, queen takes. Someone's probably taking with the bishop, maybe. They're both about the same. Tiny bit advantage above a bishop takes. b3. Now the queen's going to have to move again, because you're looking at a tempo pickup here. So queen goes to a5 check. Now it can't block with the dark squared bishop because he's outside the pawn chain. So queen blocks, queen takes, king takes, c6. Okay, it's a game. They both have a pair of bishops. White's king stuck in the middle, but he should be okay. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Queens are off the board. Knight f3. Both sides are developing. Bishop d3. It gets crazy here a little bit. You'll see knight f6. Bishop e5. Not so sure what that does. I like knight g5 myself, hitting the light squared bishop, causing him to back up. But Dreev decides bishop e5, bishop d5. Now you can't move the knight because he'll take the g2 pawn, so the king has to come over to protect the knight so the pawns don't get doubled up. It probably wouldn't be the end of the world anyway, because with pawns here, here, and here, and here, you can maybe push later. But he decides to move the king, rook, and then rook to d1. I can't see an advantage for either side. The computer says the same, but it's a game. So we're on move 16. They're both equal. a5 comes the pawn pushes, disrupt White's queen side a little bit. Bishop c4, looking to trade. Decides to go a4 instead. What to do? What do you do here? Here's white. Bishop takes f6. b4 is what white decides. And now knight to e4. It started to get a little crowded in the center there. Look at all those minor pieces. White's king seems to be a little bit in danger, but not really, because he's pretty safe there. Finally, bishop takes, king takes, and then knight to e5. Now, these knights in the center of the board, you got to be really careful. e6, just to reinforce the d5 square, I think. Bishop goes to d3. Interesting. Now he wants to keep the light squared bishop. Knight backs off. And bishop to b1. He really wants to keep that light squared bishop. Still pretty even game. I don't see any big advantages for either side. Bishop's an interesting spot, though, on d5 for black. Of course, white can't go e4 yet because the pawn, well, it's supported, but you could always go pawn. And then queen, bishop goes here, and bishop comes back, or maybe even to here. So that bishop's in a good spot. Bishop takes the pawn. I'm not so sure if he should have done that. Now his bishop's going to be off sides for a while. Bishop h3. Rook g1. Open up that file. It's a pawn sacrifice for sure. f6. Knight goes to d3. Alright, I'll give white credit. He's trying to open up lines here on the black king. Was it worth the pawn? I'm not sure yet. e5. Pawn takes. Knight takes. He gave the pawn back. His bishop goes back to e6. He decided, oh, let me just get rid of that pawn, get my bishop back into play. Now here's where you're going to see a lot of maneuvering. h4 for white. King moves up. I'm just going to go through a few of these. You can go through and analyze a little closer if you want to. There's going to be a lot of maneuvering going on here for a while. b5. a3. Looks like everybody's consolidating their position. Rook d7. And then in c4 seems to be doing pretty good duty. e4. h6. e5. Check. King goes back. If knight had taken instead, after knight takes, king takes, rook c5, that's tough right there. Black's king's getting a little bit of a jam here. If he goes here, the other rook swings around. If he goes here, rook takes check. So that was the right choice. Move the king back to f7. Knight c5. Rook. King e1. Rook h2. Now you're going to start seeing a little bit danger for black here. Bishop e4. And this is where I think black stumbles. You know, it's funny, these top players, when they make a move that we seem so natural and it's a blunder. Right now it's about a 1.25 advantage for white, mostly because of the extra pawn, but black's king's right up there in the action, so I consider this not even, but not that big of an advantage for white. But rook, after rook to d8. But what else could he do? Now the rook gets in, bishop blocks, f4, here come the pawns. This knight is doing really good duty here, blocking this pawn and also covering these key squares around. So it looks like he's up 2 pawns in actual practicality. King f8, rook h7, and this he messes up again, but I think it's a natural move. Rook d to d2. He's going to try to maybe get a perpetual, get that knight in there and try to do something against the white king. But that was the error of errors. e6, bishop, knight checks, king e8, knight checks. If he had taken the bishop instead, after king to d8, e7 check, king c7. And it's not that big of a deal for white. Believe it or not, the computer only gives this a 1/4 pawn advantage for white. After knight f6, king d8, rook d3 check. Rook takes. That's just a decoy. Pawn checks. And that's where Bok, as black, rated 2607, resigns. To give you an idea, after king c8, bishop takes. And it's over. After king to c8, bishop takes here. It's over. Give you an idea, if bishop had taken g6 instead, white gets mated. Check. King f1, knight checks. King g1, knight f3, king f1, rook mates. So you got to be careful. Anyway, folks, I think that was a pretty good game from the Challengers section, the B group at Tata Steel Chess 2016. I hope you enjoyed it. Look for more videos coming up from this great tournament, one of my favorites, at Vikensee in the Netherlands. And as I always say, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.